Mohamed Patel wins here.
Look at these two go.
He's going to do it. His first victory.
The World Championship is done.
What a race it's been.
Guess where? That's right, is the Principality on the French Riviera, the Côte d'Azur, and the host of Round 8 of the Formula SimRacing Academy Championship, the Azure Grand Prix. Last time out, it was Peter Vagapov who took his first win in FSR, triumphing over Ground Effect's Gianni Lianos. Stavros Musadis rounded out the podium to make it a great home race for the Italian Valet squad. However, there was post-race drama for championship leader George Chatzipentelis as a post-race penalty for contact with Haus Sonneveld demoted him from 4th to 7th, cutting his championship lead over Lianos to 33 points with 3 rounds remaining. My name is Edward Hunter and I'm here with the one and only Cameron Rodger to talk you through a critical qualifying session followed by 47 laps on one of the most technical, demanding and famous street courses in motorsport. We're joined of course by our broadcasting partner VCO alongside our sponsors Mesiti Esports Clothing, SimLab and 3D Wrap, who of course be supplying prizes to our world champions at the end of the season. So Cam, we've got a lot of action to look forward to today. As I said, one of the most famous street courses on the calendar that we've got to offer, don't we?
Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one for these guys. So, it's one of those tricky tracks on the calendar where they're going to need to just have that little bit more caution about them. But for sure, it's going to be a great race. It's going to be entertaining. And there's going to be some good strategy as well, just because of the nature of this track. You want to keep that track position and probably do a one-stop. But therefore, you're going to have to save the tyres a little bit and make sure that you're not losing loads of time.
Indeed, tyre wear will be absolutely critical, as it tends to be at Monaco, trying to get the stints to last as long as you can. And I did give a big mention to Lianos earlier, but I think he's moved to the Pro Championship full-time, so you'll see him in action a little bit later today as we look at one of the VMS Sun Edits cars. That's Vilestra, heating it up around a hot lap around this beautiful Azure circuit, of course, on the Côte d'Azur. I don't know what I nearly called it there. But anyway, as I said earlier, Valet very much the team in form at the moment. Or they were until Vilestra just set in that blistering lap time, which has instantly been beaten by Peter Vagapov. Here's another Valet of Sophie Jones as well, just going through the chicane, just in front of the harbour front. And it's a very full-on circuit, as obviously Sophie Jones just hit the barrier there to back.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that you really have to get in a rhythm with. It's not one you can just jump in as Jones there misses the sort of penultimate apex of Raskas and
nearly did a bit of a Michael Schumacher there
as well. Yeah, it's not the easiest track at all. And as Jones comes across the line, let's see where this puts her up into 8th place, but 7/10 off. And you'll really see around here the types of drivers who have done practice and they've got up to speed because they'll really be closer to the walls and just that little bit more consistent.
And Sophie Jones was, of course, doing the 6 hours of Road America in ERC yesterday, which I was also commentating on. So that should have to practice for both of those events. Won her class in LMP2. Although, there we go, we see Scott Flack just crossing the line, getting up to 11th position. Now, here's Moynier, another driver that's been up there in the championship. Best result, I think, 2 podiums. One in Suzuka, the other in Spa-Francorchamps, which Moynier actually led quite a significant fraction of that race. Another one to go wide at Raskas. It's such a... You have to get almost beyond the opposite lock there, don't you, on the steering wheel, which can be really demanding across 47 laps as Moynier only able to improve up to 10th, though, despite being a personal best in all 3 sectors.
Yeah, you're right about the steering lock. It's quite a major issue here because you need to have all of the lock to get around, the hairpin and lots of the slower speed corners. But then, especially in things like the chicane, Raskas, where you've got to put that lock on really quickly, it's very difficult because you're physically moving your hands so much. You're crossing your arms over quite a bit. It's, not the easiest thing in the world. As Munier's teammate here, Bookhout, coming out of the final corner. But I think this is actually to start a lap. Currently up there in 4th place. These drivers get 3 total hot laps, and I believe this is the second one with just over 5 minutes to go. And as you can see, some of the sector times starting to come in now on these second laps.
Indeed, and it's wonderful to ride on board with Wesley Bucat as he negotiates through Casino Square and beautifully under control. We see some great laps from Wesley Bucat across this season. Here we get into the hairpin. It used to be the Grand Hotel. Now I believe it's named something else. Lowe's Hairpin, of course. And then now he goes towards the tunnel. And of course, this is a great little bit because the tunnel is really where you get a break from all the tight, twisty technical stuff. Then you go right into the sunshine, as Wesley does now. Not quite as jarring in real life, in sim racing as it is in real life. Through the chicane, looks like Wesley is up in the first sector. Let's see what the sector 2 split time is as we approach swimming pool. And so crucial just to keep it neat and tidy through here. Up again through sector 2 and now into Raskas Cam. Let's see if this is going to be an improvement for Bucat.
Yeah, a couple of corners to go. Missing the apex in Raskas, but nailing that pretty much actually in the final corner. DRS to the line, 2 DRS zones around him to the line. Where is Wesley going to put himself? 5th place currently up into 4th. Still 3/10 off Vagapov, though, who's got a nice little lead there. But actually, look at that. In 2nd place is actually joint times for the 2nd and 3rd place drivers there. So that is looking very close around this wonderful street track.
Yeah, great lap by House Sonneveld there. Looking currently like a Valet 1-2 then. I think Sonneveld and Velitstra might have... I think Sonneveld must have set the lap first and Velitstra has matched it now as we look at Sophie Jones. Another person improving on time screen is, of course, our championship leader, George Zalagianis for Grand Effect. He's the highest place Grand Effect, but only in 6th at the moment. It definitely feels like Zalagianis, especially after his podium, after contact with Sonneveld at Monza. Being his a penalty, sorry, not his podium. He was finished 4th and then got penalised down to 7th, which is what I should have said. But it definitely feels like he's having a slightly harder time of it than he has the few races beforehand, as we see Sophie Jones now only 11th and going back to the pit lane.
Indeed, and the times are going to start coming thick and fast when we get towards this final part of the track. All hitting the wall, though. That is going to be losing a bit of time, and that's certainly not the fastest way to go around the corners here. Shingle also in the wall there on the exit of the swimming pool, so this is not the cleanest lap, and in the wall for the 3rd time in 3 exits. That is certainly going to be losing a few tenths here and there, but let's see what Isfan can do as he comes towards the line. 11th place currently. Is he going to improve? He somehow still improves up into 6th place, but those 4 tenths to the pole, I'm sure, will come if he just avoids those walls.
Yeah, not the tidiest lap for Istvan Single, but it worked, and the car stayed in one piece. As we see, Musadis also nearly dropped it on the exit of Casino Square there. Musadis, of course, the winner in Le Mans last time we were in France. Let's see if he can pull it off in the French Riviera in southern France and complete his French adventure here. But we certainly see some great pace from Musadis. Of course, winner in Pro at Silverstone as well. So he's definitely one of the men of the hour. Faster in the first sector, 18.7, but that's about... it's definitely faster than the people around him, sort of equal with the pace Moinier's has been doing, and Moinier's somehow gotten himself up to 2nd. This reminds me a lot of the qualifying session we saw at Monza Cam, where Vagapov set a very, very good time, and everyone else was struggling to match it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see just how close it is behind us. As that is 2 sliding on the rear end. That's going to be losing some time as he comes through Raskas corner. But let's see, Mazidis now in 11th place currently. So tight in that midfield. Just a little improvement will be good. Up in towards 8th place with still 1.5 minutes to go in this session. So certainly some extra times come in. But I think Mazidis, that might have been his final lap, if I'm not mistaken as well. We're getting Dilstra there, having a bit too much speed. Also in Raskas and losing the rear end.
Yeah, Peter Vagapov sets a purple first sector, so he's still flying out there. It really feels like Vagapov has hit a rich vein of form at the moment. Winning at Monza for the first time in FSR, I believe, has really just improved his confidence leaps and bounds. And we've seen some brilliant drives from him this season. Let's see if he can complete this lap and keep that pace going through the 2nd sector. Oh, look at the way he's climbing all over the curbs here. Not a personal best in the 2nd sector, but he could still improve his pole time here. And only a couple of corners to go, Cam. Let's see what he does as he goes towards the line. Oh!
Yeah, again, some of these drivers need to be probably just a tiny bit more calm as they come towards the line, but that's not going to be an improvement there from Vagapov. And unfortunately, he's not going to be able to improve that position. But 2 tenths is his lead at this moment to Munier in that 2nd place. But his teammate Sonneveld coming through the chicane now, not improving in that 1st sector. But that's still a half decent time. So maybe still, just about able to nab this 2nd place if he does a good final sector.
Here we go. Sonneveld, of course, a master of street tracks. He is the joint Formula One. Oh! He's full on into the barriers. I thought Single went a bit deep, but Sonneveld really went for it there. And let's see if he can avoid ebbing away too much time, but I don't think he's going to do better than third here, Cam.
Yeah, I don't think that is going to be the fastest way around the track, and it's not 12-1 there to
Oh!
Oh, that's a massive slide, Munier, and he somehow managed to hold even on the exit. I mean, I know for sure having the tiny slide around the hairpin is going to be a bit better, but that was a little bit too much. That was like a Formula Drift handbrake move around the Lowe's hairpin.
Absolutely, and I think the tyres would be more than warm enough for the rest of the lap, that's for sure. But brilliant car control from Loic here, of course, at one of his home races, of course. Let's see if he can, as Liam Howard actually sets the fastest second sector, 36.022. So Liam Howard, who's not been doing too great in this section, maybe he can get a late climb. There we go to 9th position. As Moynier also nabs the barrier, and I think he's going a little bit faster than Vagapov. Let's see. He was 2 tenths slower in the second sector, but about the same. Oh no, he's messed up the end of the lap.
And that's going to be it. Everyone else has finished. Actually, no, still a couple of drivers, Smith and Bataya, a bit further down the grid. And let's see what Smith can do. Not improving in the first 2 sectors, and it's going to be actually a bit of a slight improvement there in that final lap, or final sector, I should say, but not improving the position. And Bataya also staying down there in 18th place. So yeah, that is your grid for today's race. So that is looking pretty good for Vagapov, as you say, getting his win last time out and continuing that here on the streets of the Principality.
Absolutely, Cameron. And by 2 tenths in the end over Loic Moynier, that's his pole margin, with his teammate House Sonneveld there in third. It's looking very, very good once again for Peter Vagapov. I think as long as he can get a good start, he might be able to hold on from Loic Moynier. Then it is Velitstra in 4th for VMS Sunnet. It's a best ever grid position for him and the VMS team, I believe, in Academy. Wesley Book out 5th in the second Iris. Istvan Single 6th for ground effect, the best of the ground effects, of course. And then we have a load of valets in a row. Zaharov, Musadis, then Howard in 9th, just ahead of Sophie Jones. So the top 10 are all separated by half a second, so pretty close overall. But Vagapov, that's the big margin, isn't it? That 2 tenths to Moynier.
And with just how close it is behind, that 2 tenths is big. I mean, it's pretty much 2 tenths from Sonneveld to Jones, from 3rd to 10th. And then it's another, that same time again, just up to Vagapov. So just showing how close it is around this track. But of course, it's going to be a tight and twisty one. And we should probably take a look around that from the one and only Michi Hoyer.
Welcome everyone to SimRacing 2022 Series Round 8. Grand Prix, and also in Formula Pro we are at Azure, so perfect weekend coming up for all the sim races as we go around the final turn to start our flight back around the circuit. Turn 1, heavier braking zone. Make sure to make use of all the track available as you go up the road towards the casino. A double apex back fender. Once again, we're going to get close to the walls and there's as much ground available as possible as we go to Mirabeau. Easy on the braking as the car can become a little bit loose there. Full lock through the hairpin is the only time in the calendar you do it. And a double right hander when you want to maximise the track available as much as possible. A short moment of breathing as we're going to have braking zone elimination game. Arguably the best overtaking opportunity if there is any. Going into Tabak, one of his inside wall, not touch it. Through the arm chicane, which you can see line up with the walls, line up with the barriers, and then into the Rust Pass corner, first and second gear to be used into the final turn. This makes a little bit twitchy on the exit. And just the light, guys, that is 1 lap here around the Super Grand Prix. So who can keep it out of the walls? We're going to find out.
Well, great to see that ad there from our partners 3D Wrap. And before that, and the great guide of Monaco from the maestro, Michi Hoyer himself, of course. We'll see in action later today in the World Championship. But before then, let's get to the business at hand then. 47 laps awaiting us here at the Azure, one of the toughest, most technical street circuits, of course, out there. And it's going to test the drivers to their limits, and it's going to be so difficult to keep those tyres alive, especially in the latter stages of the race. And it'll be fascinating to see what happens. By the way, we did get information, a penalty for Gerard Batala, who I believe will now start 18th on the grid rather than 15th or so. And bad qualifying though for our championship leader, George Zalijanis, leading the championship by 33 points, of course, but down in 11th position behind Sophie Jones. So he has a lot of work to do on one of the motorsport circuits where it's very, very difficult to overtake, to be honest. And I'm sure you know that better than most, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very difficult track, and I'm sure we're going to see there be quite a few struggles during the race. It's not going to be, easy for these drivers at all. They need to be making sure that they are, keeping it consistent, keeping it on the track. Because at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a race of attrition. There's going to be quite a few DNFs over the course of the 47 laps, and therefore, if you just get to the end of the race, you're probably going to be scoring some decent points.
Given the way a lot of the Academy field was brushing very vigorously against the walls on the exit a lot of these corners, I'm inclined to agree with you, Cam. Also, it was interesting to hear in the briefing, you were very specific about telling the Academy field not to try any silly moves at corners where it's bound not to work out. But we've seen before the Academy field, they're the most likely, they're the most optimistic drivers, I think, in the of the three FSR broadcast divisions. That they always seem to pull off overtakes in places where you don't really expect them to, and they have a habit of doing that regardless of what you tell them.
Yeah, I mean, that's just obviously the situation with it being the lowest tier in the series, and that's fine. That's what it's there for. When we come to tracks like this, of course, we expect a little bit more carnage than on some other tracks. But as long as everyone is trying to, especially on lap one, when everything's so close, as long as everyone's just trying to keep it clean, trying to make sure that they are having a good race and getting towards the end, then it should be okay. But of course, inevitably, when you put 20, 30 cars down into the lowest hairpin on lap one, it's going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they'll need to manage that space very, very carefully, because there's not going to be much to go around by the time they get there. The only person who people have a clear run is the leader, basically, which is either, I think, going to be Peter Vagapov or Loic Mounier going into that first corner at Saint-Devote. But Musaidis qualifying third. Big opportunity for him to take his first, not Musaidis, of course, Sonneveld, sorry. It's a House Sonneveld who qualified third. So big opportunity for Sonneveld to take his first podium in the Academy Series, which will be a big boon for him, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an opportunity for some drivers, I'd say, actually, to have a bit of a better race from maybe what they've done in previous ones during the season. It is that more specialist race where if you can keep consistent and keep yourself looking at the possibilities of what can come, and look at the long-term parts of the race, not try and win it in the first 10 laps, and I think you're going to have a good race today.
Anyway, we're time to take a look at the starting grid then. So do you want to take it away, Cam, or shall I do it?
No, you got this.
All right, okay then. So on pole position, we of course have got Peter Vagapov for the second race in a row. Can he make it 2 from 2 in a row? Looking to stop him will be Loic Mounier in the Iris, House Sonneveld in third, Stan Vlistra in fourth, Wesley Bukout fifth, with a single in sixth just behind. Then it is Zarov and Musaidis, the two valets, in seventh and eighth. Welcome back to the Côte d'Azur and the French Riviera for the Azure Grand Prix in the FSR Academy Championship, round 8, of course. My name's Edward Hunter. I'm joined by Cameron Rodger. We're sorry, of course, for those technical interruptions, but we're back now, ready for 47 laps of racing with 26, I should say, very fired up cars ready to go around these iconic streets. So, Cameron, are you excited for this one?
Oh, certainly am. It's one of the the crown jewels on the calendar, and this one was actually voted in by the drivers as well. There was a vote between this and Daytona for round 8 here for the 2022 season, and it was voted to come to Azure. So that is certainly one for the drivers who voted for it. They're going to be pretty happy about that one, that we're coming to this track.
Well, great to have a season where we've got Spa, Le Mans and Monaco on the same calendar. Certainly Daytona would be great too, but Monaco itself an amazing challenge. The Azure, as I should say. And let's have a brief look then before we get going at the starting grid.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those races where the consistency will pay off as the drivers going to the grid. We'll obviously be able to see what happened, and obviously the qualifying session is going to remain as it was, with Vagapov on the pole, Munier in second place, Sonneveld in third, and Vliestra there in that fourth place. And I believe this is only his second race of the season, with Burkhout there in fifth, Shingle in sixth, and followed by the two valets of Zaharov and Musaidis. Musaidis, he's actually won a pro race as a reserve this season down there in the academy this time around. Liam Howard, third place in the championship, with Sophie Jones in 10th. Zalagianis, your leader in the championship, in P11, with Silveira in 12th place. On to the next page now, we've got Schnettwangers there in 13th, before Harvik in 14th, Smith in 15th, and Adriana Harazoa rounding out the top 16 of this academy grid. Then Moralato 17th, and I can never do this one, as Kilhausvik.
It's Owen Kilhausvik, yes.
In 18th place, all over it. Got this. Bertala in 18th place there, and he actually had a penalty, which is why he's dropped down a little bit. Garnier in 21st, with Mistral in 22nd, Remitz in 23rd, and Vicentovic there in that 24th position, followed by Mitchell Ntumba and Scott Flack, who decided to take a back of the grid penalty. And for sure, this is going to be quite tight, with 27 cars going into turn 1.
Yeah, I don't envy Scott Flack at the very back there, having to really pick your moment to make your way through the chaos that's going to no doubt unfold in front, or perhaps they will keep it clean. We'll have to see, as Vagapov is just near the end of the first sector, then going downhill towards Lowe's hairpin on the formation lap. But I feel real bad because I said 26 cars earlier, it's actually 27. But easy to do. I guess I didn't notice Flack just slotting in at the back there.
Yeah, he, I don't know, I didn't see why he took the back of the grid, but maybe it was because, for instance, things like wall riding and stuff like that, we've allowed the drivers to either choose to take it back of the grid now to avoid a penalty, should it be protested and things like that. So I don't know if it was to do that, or maybe he was sort of in the middle of the field and he thought, nah, I'm just going to keep out of it in turn 1.
Wall riding, that takes me way back to when I used to be a driver in a Trackmania cam, and that used to be a massive debate. It was like, was wall riding legal? And we try to recreate all the Grand Prix circuits. Like, can you really go through Eau Rouge climbing all over the wall like that? Come on. But anyway, big opportunity for a lot of these drivers, like Vliestra, Sonneveld, as we talked about earlier, and the championship contenders Howard, Zalagianis starting a bit further back will have a lot of work to do. But it's Vagapov, of course, riding the crest of the wave at the moment. We'll just need to hold off Moynier. He's on the medium tyres as well, it looks like, to start the race, with Moynier on the soft. So Moynier will get better grip as we see them all rushing through the... well, they're going to go even faster when we get the race going, but they're going pretty quickly through the swimming pool. So nobody wants to hang around here as they all start to get into their grid slots.
And just remember, we do have the 2 DRS zones, which you can see as the green lines on the track map. So down the start-finish straight, but also through the tunnel into the Nouvelle Chicane, which is going to be a very important overtaking point, I think, during the race. Also, the drivers have pushed to pass 60 seconds. We have in the Academy Championship as well, 47 laps, and I think it's going to be a great race here. But the run down to turn 1 is going to be so important.
Yeah, look at Vliestra and Single just pointing themselves to the inside there. They don't want to get caught out on the outside here. But it'll be interesting because I think the racing line is it's going to be pretty even in terms of the grip it gives either side of the grid. But like you say, a very, very crucial run to Saint-Devote awaits these guys now.
And here come the lights to take us away for the 8th round of the Academy Championship. Vagapov gets away in front and he manages to hold on to the lead, but we're seeing all of the cars trying to work their way into a single file formation down towards turn number 1. Vagapov gets a bit of a bad exit, so he's going to have to defend up the hill, and it looks like all the cars behind are getting through turn number 1 nicely. We've got the top 5 cars being either the Valet or Iris team, so it's been a good start for them as we come up the hill for the first time.
I think one of the Royal Blues might have cooked the brakes there because there was some kind of steam coming off it there. But there, as you say, great start for Vagapov, exactly what he needed. And Moynier will just have to bide his time and try desperately to hold off Sonneveld. Meanwhile, Howard has made a great start, up to 7th. Very briefly, and then he gets pushed out by Musadis and Snetvangers and down to 9th at the Lowe's hairpin. So I'm having to immediately eat those words.
Yeah, I wonder if that was, as you say, his teammate pushed him out of the way, considering Snetvangers as well is sort of an amateur driver who's got himself up into the Academy Championship, which would be quite interesting. With the situation with Lianos going up into Pro, that really gives it between Zalijanis and Howard is a good quite a way back, so he really needs to try and beat Zalijanis, who is down in that 10th place. So this could be an important race, with the Greek man being so low down if Howard can make his way through the field.
And Vagapov already almost out of the DRS range from Moynier. So the threat is definitely from Sonneveld and Bukout behind. I wonder if Iris will try and squeeze House Sonneveld here to sort of cover off any attack from him. But it looks like Peter Vagapov has got the dream start, and he can run a lot longer in this stint, ideally, than Loic Moynier will be able to. So both the Valets on the mediums, both the Irises on the softs.
And Vlietstra there, starting quite high up, is DNF'd from the race already, which is a bit of a shame for him, as we were mentioning. I think it's only his either second or third race here in FSR this season. Doing a good job, I should say, in qualifying, but in the race, unfortunately, going for that DNF with Kilhausig as well. Also in the pits after lap 1, as the drivers start to work their way out towards this back straight. We don't DRS just yet. One more lap, lap 3, and then we'll start to see potentially some dives there. But of course, this is going to be, a strategic race, one where you have to look a bit on the long games. I wouldn't see anyone diving it just yet, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, we're settled in for the chess game now for the next 45 laps or so, aren't we, Cam?
Yeah, chess is probably the best way of putting it, because you can't just force your way through. You need to outsmart your opponent, whether that's putting pressure on them, forcing them into a mistake, or whether it is with that strategy. Of course, a mandatory pit stop needs to be made for all of these drivers. And as you see, a mixture of the medium and soft. It's going to be a one-stop race for most drivers, I would say. So probably somewhere in the region of 20, 25 laps on the softs before going to the mediums to the end. But of course, if you're starting on the mediums, you're going to be a lot faster at the end on low fuel and on the soft tyres.
Indeed. So they want to make sure you're set up exactly to be on the right tyres at the right moment, of course. But as you say, the mediums are going to be certainly the tyre to be on in this first stint, but they certainly switching on to mediums later on could be a bit more vulnerable from those on the softs.
And yes, for sure. As we're getting the DRS come now, Schnettfang is there. Unfortunately, a good start for him. He's down 18th place, and that is one of the depot livery cars there trying to come through, not able to. Is able to avoid it, not able to make contact with Schnettfangers, and I think Schnettfangers there is going to be having a little bit of disappointment there to see how his race is finished in the barrier.
Yeah, it's a shame he's running just ahead of Liam Howard until that happened there, but a cruel end to the race for Schnettfangers, and he joins Vlietstra in retirement, sadly.
As going to be able to move here towards turn number 1, maybe, as Sonneveld having to defend, and that braking zone is so careful. But then we have to look up the hill. A bit of push to pass being used to try and defend as we come up to the very important part of the track. That's really ironically, the second fastest point of the track is coming up the hill there into Massenet and into the casino. That is such a big run, but of course you've got the kinks in the straight, which make it so difficult to get side by side.
Exactly. When it's not exactly a straight, it means you're constantly turning a bit on the wheel as well, which means you can't quite reach that top speed that you need. But anyway, yeah, Moynier sets fastest lap of the race, 1:14.5. So a couple of tenths faster than Vagapov, so he's starting to fight back just a little bit, Cam.
Yeah, and especially with how this DRS and push to pass is working, you need to always, that's a little bit wiggly on the exit there from Sonneveld, even when he gets into sort of third gear, but he goes into the barrier there on the exit of to back, and that is not going to help his momentum as he comes through this swimming pool section. The pressure is really being put on by Wesley Buchhout there for the Irish team in 4th place, and really is trying to work his way through, obviously on those soft compound tyres as well. It looks like Team Iris choosing the soft option, whereas Valet on the mediums, and once again having the DRS as we come towards turn number 1. But is there quite going to be a move? I don't think there quite was, unfortunately, as we're coming back to this battle in P11.
Yeah, Sophie Jones holding up a little bit of a train of cars, including Smit and Harvig, of course, who have both finished in and around the top 10 in previous races. But Smit is really good. They're all on similar tire. Harvig, of course, on the soft, so he'll be looking to make hay in this stint then. So Smit, it's really pass or be passed here for the Severin Arrows driver.
Yeah, this is the point of the race. You need to make your decision. Are you going to send it down, especially in this battle when they're on the same tyres? They're both on the mediums with Jones and Smith there. They've got Harvard behind on the soft, but are they going to battle, or are they going to try and work on the cars?
Oh, another attempt from Buchhout here.
Yeah, but not quite enough, but certainly if he gets a bit of a better run there, that's possible. But a massive snap on the exit.
Yeah, we've seen Buchhout put on some amazing moves and recovery drives earlier in the season, but Monaco, you really need to set up the move perfectly, and you can't afford to have wheel spin on the exit of the chicane, because that is just going to let House Sonneveld escape up the road. But certainly Buchhout with the tyre advantage at the moment and looking to make the most of it, as indeed is Moynier up front, matching the times. In fact, he was 3 tenths faster than Vagapov, I believe, on that last lap.
Yes, looking certainly quite good with the soft tyres. The issue is they can't make progress with this because they're stuck behind the medium tyres. That means that obviously when this swaps around after the pit stop, it'll then be the Valet guys on the soft tyres, and then they'll have the advantage, but they also have the track position in these battles at this moment in time. So this is actually working well for the Valet cars on those medium tyres. This is their slower part of the race. It's the most fuel they're going to have. It's the slowest tyres they're going to have, but they're holding back the potential of the soft runners.
And of course, the only Valet that's really on an alternate sort of strategy is Musadis, who himself has set the fastest lap of the race, 1:14.5, as he's right behind Single. Already got a 2.5 second gap to Liam Howard, which is very impressive at this early stage. And it's certainly going to help Musadis try and make up ground here. But as we see Moynier closing inexorably to the back of Vagapov, and I feel this is a duel that's going to run and run, Cam.
Oh yeah, this is going to go on for a while. Obviously, 2 of the fastest drivers we have in this category on good form, and with the likes of Vagapov winning last time out, and just in general doing a fairly decent throughout the season as well. So let's see how this battle goes. But it is so interesting how even on the medium tyres, they can Vagapov can hold on to that position, and this is going to really be working in his favour, especially if they can make this one-stop work, which, as I said, should be the preferred strategy around here due to the track position. Then that is going to be working in his favour when he gets onto those soft tyres.
Track position is king. Just ask Nigel Mansell, who spent the latter stages of the 1992 Monaco Grand Prix cooped up behind Ayrton Senna on old tyres, and Senna going, of course, on to win that day, despite being in a much slower vehicle. But anyway, I should point out, last time Moynier and Vagapov duelled at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, Moynier got in front of Vagapov after Vagapov started on pole, and then Vagapov crashed out at Rouge and Radion in very spectacular fashion. So he'll be, of course, he won in Monza to sort of banish that memory, but I'm sure Moynier will be hoping history repeats itself here.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of those ones where a mistake can come. Vagapov sitting in 4th place in the championship with 100 points, 66 of Zalagianis, who of course has 166. But you have to go quite a bit further down, or one position, to Moynier, who is 5th in the championship, right behind him by 5 points. So this is quite an important one for the championship, as they try to catch Liam Howard, who's sitting on 120 points.
And speaking of the championship, Zalagianis still down in 9th behind Liam Howard by about a second, as we watch Musadis challenging Single. I think this is probably one of the best performances we've seen of Istvan Single this season, that he's beaten all of his teammates, including, of course, Zalagianis, of course, has been doing so well this season. Musadis very nearly runs into the back of him at lows. He judged that pretty well, Cam, because, of course, you always forget in the cockpit you don't get this TV cam that we do. So it's a little bit harder to sort of spot your front wing is relative to the rear wheel of the car in front.
Oh yeah, you can't see your front wing at all. It's all on your sort of memory of and just practice, really learning the different cars that you drive and where the front wing is. And yeah, you're right. Shingo's had a bit of an up and down season. He's had a third place in Malaysia and a fourth place in Italy. Monza last time out, but his other results are 15th, 18th, and 13th. So it's been a pretty inconsistent season. He's down in 11th place in the championship, is Shingo. So this would be a good result to continue a run from last time of 4th place, 6th place at this moment in time. But Muzidis, as we said, he's won a pro race in Silverstone as a reserve driver for Valet up there. Had a great race that time around and is obviously full of confidence, but just not quite able to get high enough in qualifying, but it's certainly close in this battle.
Yeah, you saw once again Muzidis got the run going into San Devoto, but he just couldn't get a wheel alongside, so Single just had to keep to the racing line and turn in, threw up a shower of sparks into Muzidis, and Muzidis sort of couldn't find a way through there. So yeah, but I'm sure Stavros will regroup and have another go, wait for a little chink in the armour, because that's what it's like at Monaco. You spend a good 40 laps behind someone, and then on lap 41, that's when they start to crack, isn't it, inevitably.
And that would be good for us with a 47-lap race if that opened up a good... Always
look at Single, he did that last lap as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I tell you what, the brakes are difficult around here, though, because the brakes are difficult in this car as it is compared to some others. But then you have all of the braking zones here, not many straights to cool them down with the brake ducts either. So it's certainly a difficult place to keep control of those brakes and just getting quite comfortable with them. And Shingo, as you say, locking up a couple of times, that's not going to help with flat spots either.
And of course, that sort of allowed Zarov to break away, and he's starting to get involved in this Bukout-Sonneveld battle. So when I thought the Irises were going to squeeze Sonneveld, now the valets of Sonneveld and Zarov are going to squeeze Bukout here. So the tables are starting to turn ever so slightly.
It certainly is, and obviously it'll get to a point as well where these soft tyres won't be able to hold on to the mediums either. There'll be a slight crossover period once the soft tyres have lost that initial sort of bite and grip that they give you. But of course, we are only lap 10 here of 47, and I would expect for the one-stoppers to go at least 20 laps in this race, because it's not the biggest difference between the soft and the medium, but now getting a bit of a run towards the chicane, getting close enough that to be honest, with a bit of push to pass as well and a bit of a send into the chicane, there's definitely a move possible.
Well, if anyone can do it, it certainly would be Wesley Bukout, but it needs to be so careful not to make heavy contact with Sonneveld, because we saw what happened last time at Monza when Zalagianis did that, and it got him a very painful penalty, really, post-race. It dropped him from 4th to 7th. Oh, there's a little twitch at the rear from Sonneveld. Of course, as I said, the street circuit specialist, ERC Formula E champion at the moment, but certainly Bukout, no slouch around these streets either. So the two seem very evenly matched despite the different tyres. And Bukout definitely, I think Moynier up front has definitely eased off his attack of Vagapov, though. So I feel like Moynier is starting to save his tyres, but Bukout might be trying to eke out just a little bit more performance from these softs at this phase.
Yeah, the thing with Vagapov is he had that 2/10 advantage in qualifying. If that goes to the race as well, then that can really, almost offset the difference between, or at least go towards offsetting the difference between the soft and the mediums as well. So that's really going to be helping him. But for sure, if he can keep those mediums going, once he makes that pit stop a bit later as well, onto the soft tyres, I think that's really going to put himself in a great position. But it's not going to be obviously the easiest place to be able to do that, to keep the tyres lasting so long. You're pushing always on the front tyres, and then obviously all the traction zones for the rear tyres as well. It's certainly a difficult challenge for these drivers.
There we go, and Vagapov was actually 0.2 faster, personal best first sector for him on this lap. Middle sector a bit more even, with Moynier slightly quicker. So the softs aren't fading away just yet, but certainly, like you say, there's going to come that crossover point as we see Bukout doesn't get a great run, actually, onto the main straight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it is difficult to get a good exit there out of that final corner. The final corner itself is very difficult, but then the exit is off camber. You've got the barrier right on your left, where you'd want to go straight, but basically if you've ever been there in real life, there's sort of like a driveway thing to a hotel the other side of it, which is why it's there, and it sort of sticks out in the road. There's all massive dive down the inside there from Mazzides. I think that's the first one we've seen all race, but now a bit of contact between the two into the first portiere as well. Mazzides doesn't manage to hold onto that shingle, manages to keep that position, but he's getting a bad exit now as Mazzides has the DRS and manages to get past in the tunnel.
Yeah, here we go. So that was brave by Single to hold it in there, but Mazzides, of course, there was a sort of knock-on effect where Single lost his momentum, and that could potentially put him into the clutches of Liam Howard as well. But very unexpected by Mazzides to go up the inside at Lowe's hairpin there, Ken.
Yeah, quite caught in, and even us by surprise there. Obviously it's one of the better overtaking opportunities, such as the nature of you being able to dive it down the inside, but you've got to hold it to the inside there, which he did, and the contact at the next part, I think, was, at least at first glance, probably a bit 50-50. Don't think there's too much in that. And in the end, Mazzides managed to get that position anyway. He's now actually being let past by his teammate Zaharov as we go up the hill as well. So that has worked out amazingly for Mazzides. 2 places in 1 lap, and he's now got a couple of seconds up the road to book out. And if he's got some good speed, he'll definitely be able to catch that gap.
Absolutely, because of course those soft tires aren't going to last as long as the mediums, and they're giving better performance right now, so it makes perfect sense for Zaharov to let Mazzides through, as much as it might pain him personally, as Mazzides goes a little bit wide on the exit of Lowe's. Perhaps maybe the tire's already starting to go a little bit by there, or he's pushing certainly to get the most out of him as he goes through Portier. But yeah, I think Bucat might start to get a little bit worried now. Someone on the same tires is right behind him.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to catch up, and he's definitely going to be able to do that because Sonneveld on those mediums, Mazzides has definitely got the speed, and just look how much they're closing actually in this middle part of the lap. Was actually, no, that's a back marker. I'm sorry. One of the blue default livery cars letting him out the way, which I think is Vishentovic, if I'm not mistaken, is getting letting some of these guys past. But now back to Mazzides. He's about almost 3 seconds off the back of Bucat. I think that's actually cost him some time that lap. But let's see how that goes. We're still on, sort of just over halfway through this stint probably on these soft tyres. So there should be some speed left. And if Bucat's getting held up, then I'm sure that gap's going to come down.
Certainly the valet cars will start to work together, as I mentioned earlier, to sort of play the race to their advantage, make sure their drivers are in the free air when they need it. But Iris will certainly try and be the fly in the ointment that stops them making progress. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to make it a valet 1-2-3 here with all 3 of these cars.
Yeah, it's looking quite difficult just because Team Iris are looking strong, as they have done over the course of the season so far. Bucat getting a podium back in San Marino of the first race of the season as well, so certainly a good introduction. They're 3rd in the championship, with Mounier getting a couple of podiums and a 2nd place as well in recent times at the Belgian Grand Prix, so for sure they're doing well for their first season in FSR, and they're certainly putting up the challenge to Valet, who, and look at that, Sonneveld starting to potentially struggle a little bit. That's a bad exit out the final corner.
Oh, definitely, and this could be the opportunity that Bucat needs. DRS wide open, but he's on the outside here. Sonneveld will defend the inside as they go side by side, and a little bit of contact with the front wheel there, but Sonneveld holds firm and will not let Bucat through that easy, so he's going to need to try again, isn't he, Cam? But very, very close there.
Oh yeah, they're staying so close. I wonder if these mediums are just starting to go a little bit for Sonneveld, and the softs really starting to show their prowess at this point of the race. But that was lovely driving between the two, side by side into the braking zone of turn number 1. Respect given between the two. No major contacts or anything, even bumping that we saw, but Sonneveld is starting to struggle, and this is another DRS zone coming up here.
Absolutely, it's letting Moinier and Bagapov disappear up front, which Bucat will not want at all. Here we go, once again, the DRS wide open, push to pass being utilised. Will Bucat dive free? Oh, he goes, and he's wedged almost into the wall there by Sonneveld, who pushes him out, and now Mazzides is right behind too. This is not what Bucat wanted at all.
Lovely defending though from Sonneveld. Of course, a little bit of contact, but it's so difficult to go side by side in that chicane. And I think that was probably somewhat okay with how it worked out. The space was given on that second apex, but for sure the first one is just so tight. And as you say, Mazzides, that 3-second gap has come down to 0 in the space of about a lap and a half. And Sonneveld, whether he's doing it on purpose to help his teammate or if he's just defending the position that he is in, it's working out for his teammate. And I'm sure Mazzides is probably going to see himself in a podium position in the not too distant future.
Yeah, we'll certainly be aiming for that. But certainly if Sonneveld's defending from Bucat, then Bucat's definitely going to start defending from Mazzides if he gets too much closer. So it's a matter of, like I said earlier, it's overtake or be overtaken, really. And you got to make sure when you do the move, you've got it set up perfectly, because otherwise, you saw what happened to Wesley Book out there, didn't we, Cam?
Yeah, it's not not the easiest place to overtake, as you've seen, but we have seen some nice battles so far, which is what we wanted. That's another reason why we got this DRS zone here as well in the tunnel, trying to make some more opportunities in towards this chicane as Bukout this time around not quite close enough to have a dive, have a think about it into the chicane. So he needs to work his way back up, get some momentum, but because of this battle, they've dropped or been dropped by the top two by another sort of 4 or 5 seconds as well. So it's really turning into a 2-horse race at the front.
Absolutely, a 1:15.6 for Vagapov on that last lap. Sonneveld and Bukout 1:17.6, 1:18.0. So yeah, that shows you the sheer difference that you can affect your lap times from just being held up as they all try and split each other in the middle of the DRS zone into Saint-Devote, but nothing doing for Besley on this occasion, and Musadis still lurking in the background like a vulture waiting to strike.
Yeah, on that last lap, though, the lap times were a lot better, matching Vagapov really at the front, but it was Meunier in second place, really starting to lose time. Oh, that's a huge spin there for Sonneveld. That is going to let Musadis through, and obviously Bukout's got involved. He's lost his front wing. He's going to have to be careful reversing there onto the track.
There was a car with no front wing ahead of them as well.
Was that?
Sure who that was.
Oh, that is not a nice place to reverse as Harvig and Silvera come through. I wonder who was that? You're right. I think that was someone else, but Meunier is having some issues. He's
I might be
6.5
Meunier.
seconds
He's
off.
lost his front wing, and I think that was maybe what caused that. So anyway, that puts Musadis up to third, but he could well overtake Meunier too. So Meunier's made a mistake somewhere, lost his front wing, and it caused his teammate and Sonneveld to just come to grief as right into the back goes Meunier, and surely Musadis is going to be through. It could be a valet 1, 2, 3, 4 after all.
And this is going to be quite difficult. I mean, you will 30 laps to the end on the mediums should be possible, but that is for sure a huge impact in the race. But look at Vagopov's lead now, 8.5, 9 seconds to Musadis, who's got himself all the way up. He was way down, about 8th place on the grid, up into 2nd place, and he's going to be loving this with the medium runners behind him of Sonneveld and Vagapov, Zaharov, I should say, as well. But let's try and get a bit of a replay maybe to see what happened.
Yeah, so here we go, coming up on the run to Casino Strand. So he's lost it at Saint-Devote earlier.
Yeah, probably turn 1, he lost it.
Was there a bollard in the inside that he hit, maybe? Or did he get too far over the curb? And look behind him, yeah, that's Sonneveld just spinning into the path of Bukout.
That was on his own, though.
And Bukout is in the pit lane now, too. Sonneveld seems to have survived. He was on the main straight, it seemed. What? Did he get hit from behind by one of the lapped cars? That looks like step bangers going by.
I wonder if it was with DRS maybe, because it's definitely possible to lose the rear with DRS because there's sort of a kink on the exit. But let's have a look. Coming out to the final corner, he's got his front wing there. Oh, he hit it on the wall, on the Armco. That little bit, as I said, that sticks out. I'm not sure if that was either what lost his front wing or whether it was the secondary contact in the wall. But either way, Meunier lost his front wing and he's back out on the mediums. But 30 laps to the end, that's not going to be as good as it could have been should he stayed out for another 5 laps or so. But as you were saying, Ed, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Valet. But actually, it's not because Harov comes into the pit.
There we go, just to put a dampener on that. But Liam Howard, the big beneficiary of this too, up to 4th place now, so crucial for his championship. Needs to maximize the damage he can do to Zalgianis' lead, because he is really the only one, apart from maybe Vagapov, who can really catch him in the points. Yeah,
3 races left, including this one. 30 points for the lead, so 90 points in total, but Howard is 46 behind, so that's obviously half of what the potential is, which is going to be very difficult because that means he needs to finish at least sort of in the top 5 of every race just to get enough points, let alone Zalgianis, the points that he's going to score as well. So it's a very difficult situation for Howard to be in. Zalgianis with his teammates Lianos leaving the ACA Championship is he's in a good position, but he's now being held up by his other teammate.
Yeah, and look at the way he's weaving. He really wants Single to move out of the way, and it feels like Ground Effect maybe don't have the same policy that Valet do in terms of just letting your teammate through if they're fighting for the championship. And big lockup from Single. He's really struggling, and Howard is going to disappear up the road, which is not what Zalgianis wants at all.
Yeah, Valet are definitely a team that work together. They have their drivers, and look at that, Shingle just letting him through eventually. But I know Valet definitely sort of speak to each other during the races in almost like, a conference call between them, making sure they can get the best result for the team. But with rFactor, I'm not sure what their setup is, whether they are as involved with each other in that way, as we're getting another pitter. That's Harvig there, 20 laps in the race for him on those soft tyres. He's going to come out on the mediums, 27 to the end for him. And Valet having such a good race. They got 5 in the top 8, and Zaharov there, he's obviously made his pit stop, so he'll go back up into there as well. So they're looking in such a strong position here.
Yeah, Wesley Buchhout really think the timing screens alight. It's just a shame he's down now in a 17th position, of course, on the medium tyres. Moynier has emerged back in 10th, so he's not given up on getting a decent points finish here, but I think the podium may be out of reach now for Lloyd, because he is cooped up now behind the royal blue of Thomas Andrium Harazoa.
He certainly is. DRS is activated, coming through the kink in the tunnel, getting very close. Moynier to the inside on the medium compound tyres, made his pit stop already, and is he going to just about make the chicane? Yes, he does. And Andrium Harazoa down in towards 10th place there. Moynier, he needs to be careful how he uses these mediums, though, because he's making an earlier pit stop than the drivers he's technically fighting, because remember, he was still in 2nd place when he made the pit stop. So even though he lost the time to Vagapov, he's still in the shout for a podium today if he can make those tyres go to the end.
Indeed, but it's a compromise strategy. Like you say, those tyres are going to not be in great shape by the time he gets to the end, as we see Single being serviced along with Andrium Harazoa right after being passed by Loic Moynier. So Loic only really needed to wait another lap there, but great to see him put on a little bit of a show as he attempts to make progress back up the order.
Yeah, certainly are. There's a whole host of tyres out on the field. We see a lot of medium tyres now as the pit stop starts to come in, but there's also a few guys out on the hards. Smith and Andrium Harazoa on the hards, and I believe there's someone else. I think it must be on the other page at the bottom, one of the lap drivers also. Snetvang is there, and also Vicentovic on the hards. So really trying to go a long way. We saw the hards in use in Malaysia, I believe it was, and they're coming back here at the Principality as Buchhout now trying to make his way up in 14th place currently.
That's Andrium Harazoa in front, who's just gone onto the hard tyre. So that's why Buchhout was pushing so much to try and jump these guys, and it hasn't quite worked out. So Buchhout, the even bigger loser than Moynier, due to really being second on the scene there and losing a bit more time and having to get that long trudge back to the pit lane. But here we go. He's got the run. Oh, nearly got fed in the wall there, but he hasn't given up yet. And Andrium Harazoa has to let another Iris through up the inside of the chicane. But there we go. Buchhout up to 13th then, and now free to chase Scott Flack ahead of him.
Oh, what a move. That was all that goes into the wall on the exit to back. That's not going to help his steering direction, but that was an amazing move. The outside of the kink got the speed that he needed to get in the space down the inside there, and a lovely move for sure. Now he's behind Scott Flack. Remember, Flack started from the back of the field, and if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't made his pit stop yet. No, he hasn't, because he's still out on those tyres, and he's going to be struggling a little bit now on 22 lap old compared to brand new medium tyres. And let's see what Buchhout can do. No push to pass up the hill, which is surprising, just the slipstream, but he needs to sit there for a couple of corners because you can't overtake through the next two.
I'll tell you what's surprising up front, Musadis has taken about 2 seconds out of Vagapov on the soft tyres there. So Musadis has not given up on fighting for another victory here. So I don't think Peter Vagapov is going to be quite completely comfortable, but he will be able to go, of course, a bit longer than Musadis, which gives him more options strategically. So certainly Valet, there might be a bit of inter-team squabbling. As Zalagianis now pits from 5th. Crucial for them for the championship leaders. We see Buchhout closing on Flack at the exit of the tunnel.
Yeah, is he going to be close enough? Not quite this time around. Flack, though, just misses the chicane. That's going to be a bit of a bad exit, but actually manages to keep it in the end. I thought he was going to get a bad run towards the back, but Buchhout not able to capitalise on that one. Flack maybe just in the wall there a little bit, coming through to back. So certainly the scrapes are coming on the side of that Super Venturi as we come towards the final corner. Is Flack going to eventually dive it in? No, he's going to continue, as he really does need to go another sort of 5 laps or so to go to the end comfortably on those soft compound tyres, as Buchhout gets the DRS once again, but without the push to pass, it seems like there's loads of wings on the track there. Whose are they? I wonder who is going to be driving around, because I believe that was a front and a rear wing missing from cars. We're going to get out
around the
outside
casino. And Scott Flack really has to get out of it there. That was very brave and a half. You don't often see moves there. This is what we're saying about Academy, isn't it? And if one person can make a move on the outside into Casino Square, it's certainly Wesley Buchhout.
I didn't think he was going to be able to hold on to that. I thought he was going to be pushed into the wall, but somehow it looked like there's certainly a bit of contact.
Oh, it's Zaharov.
He was in a good place as well. He could have had a top 5, top 6 today, but unfortunately that is going to be a fairly long repair and a second pit stop.
Zaharov was pushing for fastest lap. He was trying to jump Zalagianis, who was just pit, and he came out just behind, I think. And what's happened here? It's on the previous lap, I think. Is he coming into the chicane? All looks normal so far, Cam.
Yeah, the wings were in turn 1, so I'm going to assume that he's had a bit of a issue. Was it on his own? Because if it is, then that is...
are we about to see Zalagianis emerge from the pit exit here?
Oh,
here he is, yes.
Right, but actually, he's going to be up the inside, so is there going to be contact on the exit? No, I think he was just pushing to get ahead of him in turn 1, but unfortunately slid the rear, lost both wings, and that is going to be a 20-second pit stop that he didn't want to do.
Very, very costly. But now we see the unique sight of a valet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As someone else is going very slowly. I think that's a lap car.
He's lost a wheel in the tunnel. And he's already a lap or 2 down, and I think he's going to press escape, which he has. Vicentovic out of the race, 24th place, which means he's our 4th DNF driver. We've got another 6, 1 lap down. It's really, it's only 25 laps into the race. As Mazardis and Sunivel come in with a valet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the front.
There we go, and that looks like Musadis emerging from the pits, crucially ahead of Moynier then. So there we go, and then I think Sonneveld might come out pretty close as well. So Moynier's not really being held up in the traffic. It's really cost him having to make that early stop, hasn't it?
Yeah, certainly not the nicest strategy in the world, especially when you're around here, because it's somewhat tight on the tyres. To be honest, even in Pro and maybe even WC, you're going to see some people trying the one-stop strategy as well. So the tyres can go longer than this, but remember, this is the lowest, the lowest tier, and it's a difficult place to do that, because if you just push that a little bit too much, even if just it's by 0.5% a lap, something like that, that's just going to be enough. That once that accumulates after 20 laps or so, you're really going to be struggling. So for sure, it's all Howard a little bit closer to Meunier. It's certainly a difficult one to control the tyres, and for sure, pitting earlier is actually almost a bad thing, because even though you might do a bit of an undercut, you're going to really struggle in the last 5 laps.
So Howard has pit and come out just behind Moynier. Crucially, Musadis, he's not got anyone in front of him for track positions, so he's going to close on Vagapov very quickly on those fresh mediums. So what does Peter Vagapov do here, Cam? Does he pit to cover Musadis off, or does he wait until later on, plonk the softs on, and just because Musadis might even have to do another stop here?
I think it depends how close he wants the gap to get, because he has a couple of seconds, about 19 seconds or so, I think, for a pit stop. So he's got a few seconds in hand. He can stay out a couple of laps to make sure he has even fresher tyres, but then Mazardis is only going to be a couple of seconds behind him. So he really needs to choose whether he wants a couple of laps fresher tyres, or if he wants those couple of seconds extra advantage. That is his his ultimatum at this moment in time. But for sure, where we are, 21 laps left in the race, 20 after this one, it's certainly going to be fairly comfortable on those softs to the end. So I don't think it really matters when it is, just depends on the gap that he wants.
Has Zalagianis hit trouble somewhere as well? Because he's down in 14th on another set of soft tyres now. So I think he's had to make an unscheduled pit stop. And he's almost a whole lap down now. So this is suddenly become a big opportunity for Liam Howard and Peter Vagapov for that matter.
What is that something like speeding in the pit lane maybe during his first pit stop? But you're right, he's come back in for a second stop, and for a championship leader, that is not going to really help him. 14 places, only 7 points compared to 15 points that Howard would get for 6th place.
There we go. Sophie Jones now in the pits to break up for the valet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's just a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's somewhat disappointingly by the high standards they've exacted on this race so far. Certainly since both the Irises were caught up in a really badly
who's in the wall? Someone is in the wall on the track map. I can see in turn number 1. We're just going to be coming up to it here.
Like
Bookhout side by side up the hill. I think Shingle just ahead of them has lost his wing, but Bookhout almost taking advantage up the hill there.
There we go, and he's got well out of the way then, so it's well and truly fallen apart for ground effect in this race then.
certainly has Shingle there. He was struggling a bit on those older tyres. He's made his piss off with the new ones, and then even on the new tyres has had a mistake there in turn 1. It seems turn 1 is being a very difficult place. It is a difficult braking zone because you're sort of turning and braking, plus the big curb on the inside as well. But Shingle is going to be dropping down, and the irony is about Zalijanis, he's going to get a free position there from his teammate because Shingle will be dropping back behind his great teammate there of Zalijanis.
And Vagabov, crucially, while we're watching that, makes a pit stop, comes out 2 seconds ahead of Musadis on the soft tyres then. So Vagabov, as I thought, covering him off and hoping to pull away, I think, on the faster compound.
Yeah, that was a smart decision. He didn't let Mercedes get too close. He still had a bit of a gap, but he went those a couple of laps longer, so he should be fine on tyres and have the advantage on tyres to his teammate there. But certainly Mercedes having a great race so far. Less than 2 seconds now is the gap, but even closer is the gap with Buchhout. And once again, he gets a good run coming out of the first corner. Schmidt into the wall a little bit, scraping it coming out of turn number 1, but able to hold on as he come up the hill. And I don't think those hard tyres are really giving him the grip that he needs.
Yeah, but Buchhout's been taking a lot out of his mediums in this stint, hasn't he? Putting on some superb entertainment, but of course, those hards, they're really a little bit like driving on ice on some of these circuits. So Buchhout definitely has the advantage, but there's nowhere to go after these corners, is there, Cam?
Yes, this part of the track in the middle sector is certainly the hardest part of the track, really, to make an overtake. Apart from here into the chicane, there's a run to the outside. He's going to go. That's going to be very difficult to get himself all the way around the outside, which he does, and he backs out of that move, but he certainly is putting the pressure on Schmidt, and the 7 Arrows driver is going to be feeling the pressure. But look at the speed difference there into back.
Yeah, there we go. And Buchhout really compromised, actually, because it almost like got suckered into that one by the 7 Arrows braking so early there. But thankfully, Wesley Buchhout avoids another collision and continues on his way in the 41. But surely Schmidt is going to slip up somewhere else. He's looking just a little bit cagey. And we saw that little clip with the wall at San Devot earlier. He just about survived. And here comes Buchhout with the DRS again. But once again, no space to slot into. And the more Schmidt stays there, the more comfortable he'll get, because he'll be able to predict what Wesley's doing here, isn't he? And anticipate it.
Certainly, but then also the pressure builds up the closer and closer you get towards the end of the race, and still 18 laps to go, so a lot of laps for Schmidt to hold on to this one. As it almost looks like they lock up there into that corner, but it's just because the wheel gets unloaded because it's such a steep, not the opposite of elevation, decline there in towards Mirabeau. And let's see what he does now. Coming through the tunnel, DRS open for the Dutch driver, getting that slipstream. Once again, Schmidt goes to the inside. On the outside, it's going to have to be here for Buchhout, but he once again not able to get side by side. Thinks about it, but just has to back out last minute.
And look how wide Schmidt had to go on the exit there of the chicane, and that even opens up another way into the back. Surely he's not going to pull this one off. Oh, and they're still side by side as they approach the swimming pool camp.
Oh, this is a great battle. Schmidt able to hold on. A bit of contact between the two as they were both drifting wide there into back, but nothing too much to worry about between the two drivers. But this is a great battle, and it's only for 8th place, but they're putting on every opportunity to put an overtake on. Buchhout is obviously used to being up in these positions as well, but Schmidt, he's an amateur driver, and he's sort of been doing a few races here and there. His best position is 9th so far this season in Belgium, but apart from that, it's been 13th and 17th, so this would be his best race of the season if he can finish it.
Yeah, and certainly it was a brave move to go onto those hard tyres. Let's hope it works out for him. He goes really wide into Mirabeau, but he almost chops off across the front of Wesley Buchhout into Lowe's hairpin there. So once again, Wesley really trying to avoid an accident, but that previous lap battle, and we might see it happen again, I think that was about as clean as you can go through the chicane into back, going side by side.
And let's see it once again, the slipstream. No push to pass, interestingly, from Buchhout. He's trying to do this all on the DRS, and Schmidt once again holds it to the inside, gets it around that inside wall and the curb on the exit. But let's see now, is it the inside? Is it going to be a dive? No, Tabac's not really the place. It's a bit more of a tap on the brakes, 1 or 2 gears down, and now through the swimming pool section. Raskas is the next good opportunity if you can get yourself up the inside, but that's too much curb there for Buchhout. He loses a car length, and he's going to have to wait to the front straight.
Yeah, but it's all about moving around in Schmidt's mirrors and making the 7 Arrows driver make a mistake, basically, to sort of force him into it by kind of forcing his hand. As here we go, the DRS opens once again, but Buchhout, yeah, once again, that same dilemma, really, with nowhere to run. And in fact, he even backs off a little bit for the run up to Casino.
Yeah, he certainly does as the pair continue this fight. It's an amazing fight so far that we're seeing. There's also some bigger battles up and down the field as well, even for sort of 11th place and 14th as well. We've seen some battles, and I'm sure that one for 4th place with Munier catching Howard as well, I think is going to work its way at some point in the race as well. But for now, we'll stay on this battle because Burkhardt is getting closer, but that's not a good exit there out of Porter. Schmidt wiggles around, but I don't think Burkhardt's going to be close enough. But once again, interestingly, it looks like he's saving his push to pass because both of these drivers haven't been using it.
I wonder if Wesley Burkhardt knows the mediums are a bit past their best now because of that early pit stop he was forced into. So there's kind of the crossover points where the hard, as little grip as it gives you, it's a little bit more consistent maybe than the wearing medium. And look at the front left, especially for some of these corners. But Smith, there's a little gap on the outside into Raskas, has to go very, very deep. Oh, he's almost hits the wall and Burkhardt's through.
And that's an amazing switch back there in Raskas. He's finally got the position, but can Schmidt come back? Oh no, he hasn't got DRS. The detection's just before Raskas, so Burkhardt managed to hold on to it. Schmidt, he's gone somewhere, but he's come back, and I don't know what happened there, but either way, he's down into 9th place. A little bit of a lag, I guess, for him. Not able to hold on to that position. He has to be careful because Harvick is only 4 seconds behind as well, who has been catching, but that is another driver losing his wing.
There we go. So Smith pushing that a little bit too hard to catch back up to Burkhardt. Got in the wake on the exit Casino Square. Hit the inside and the front wing. Parted company, sadly, for the Severin Arrows driver. And that's really going to hand Harvick a 9th position then. So like you say, Smith might have to wait a little bit longer to get back into the into another top 10 finish. But here is Jones, who was caught up to the back of Moynier. Howard is through past Moynier as well. So the mediums starting to wear and Jones making the best of her softs then. And
Jones, I believe, last lap was the fastest person on the track. Yes, they were. Only 3 drivers actually in the 13s, most of them in the 14s, and it was a mid-13 for Jones, as we're going to see that happen once again on this next lap as well. So certainly Jones, she's got the speed at the moment as we come up the hill once again. Munier in that 5th place was one of the drivers who had to pit a little bit earlier than they would have wanted as well. And it looks like Howard ahead is able to easily hold on to that place. So if Jones can get past Munier here, I think she might have a go at Howard for that 4th place, just depending on how long it takes to get past and how big that gap grows.
Speaking of which, Zalagianis has been able to overtake Harvick. I think Harvick may have actually made another stop or something there because he's only just gotten by Smith. So Zalagianis back into the top 10 as he tries to limit the damage.
Oh no, that looks... Oh yeah, way too tight for Jones, and that is okay. That is not the way you want to rejoin because that was head first into someone coming in. Fortunately, Jones's teammate Silvera was a few seconds back, but either way, that was not the nicest rejoin I've seen in the world. Doesn't look like any aero damage, but there should be some suspension damage, maybe a bit of steering damage for Jones there, hitting the inside wall on the apex of the chicane.
Yeah, it's a little bit like driving a go-kart. You think you're a lot thinner at the back than you actually are. And Sophie Jones found out that the car was not indeed on that occasion. So that really takes the pressure off Moynier somewhat. But anyway, someone with a lot of pressure on them is Andrea Maharasoa in the Royal Blue, who's got championship leader Zalagianis all over the back of him. And he's going to have to, once again, we're seeing another, this time soft tyre versus hard tyre battle. I think Zalagianis is going to find a way through before too long.
Yeah, Zalagianis, 11th place on the grid, had to do a 2nd pit stop, but is somehow still in 10th place, such is the way. We're now lapped cars up to 13th place, and that will quickly be 12th, with Mistral being 1 minute 14 off the lead as well. So certainly the gaps have spread out as you would expect around this track, and Zalagianis is really making this work to try and use his speed to get back up. But as you're saying, first we've got the hard tyre runners, runner, I should say, of Andrea Maharasoa in front of him, and if he does that, still has the opportunity at Burkhardt, but I think apart from that, 8th place is probably the best the Greek driver can hope for.
Yeah, and of course, 22 cars still running, but 13th onwards are all a lap down. We might even see Vagapov lap Zalagianis if he's not careful here. But remains to be seen. I don't think there's quite enough time yet. I think only really Mistral and Harvick are under threat here. But here we go. Zalagianis starting to move around and put the pressure onto Andrea Maharasoa. And what can he do here to really keep him behind? I think the ground effect driver is going to, once again, wait. Oh, look how twitchy he was into Raskas as well. The Royal Blue really all over the road.
Yeah, certainly as we get towards the other DRS zone, but that's not the exit that Zalagianis wanted. 2 snaps coming out, and that is one thing, because it's the short straights here, the DRS opens as soon as you leave the corner. So that's still when you're trying to put the traction down, trying to get the downforce building up on the car. And that makes it a little bit harder. Normally with these DRS zones that might be a similar length, they sort of come, a couple of 100 meters down the road where you're already up to speed, you've already got that downforce and the traction sorted. Whereas here, you're really just going to really low wings on the exit, losing all that downforce, and that isn't going to be helping the situation. But for sure, the better drivers can work that out. But let's see what Zalagianis does now, coming to the next DRS zone.
Indeed, there we go. Once again, doesn't look like he's set up. The softs, the problem is that they do wear quite quickly compared to the hard tyre, so he's not got a huge window in which to make this move. And indeed, as Andrew Maharazzo sort of kind of turns in quite early there and lets Zalagianis close in ever so briefly. So it feels like George Zalagianis is sort of biding his time here and sort of waiting for Andrew Maharazzo to create that opportunity rather than diving up and moving around the rear mirrors all that too much.
Yeah, certainly a sort of race consistency that you need to have, putting that pressure consistently on your opponent. And now the push to pass being used by both drivers coming towards turn number 1. Zalagianis thinking about it, but not the easiest place to make a move in turn number 1. But up the hill now, Andrea Maharazzo, I tell you what, is getting some really good exits even on these hard compound tyres. We saw Smith a bit earlier on them really struggling on the tractions, but it seems the Royal Blue driver is making them work, and if he can hold up the championship leader towards the end of the race, 10 laps to go, there's another wing on the ground, then that will make him very happy. But whose wing was that?
Yeah, I just noticed Andrew Maharazzo keeps setting personal bests in the first sector, 19.50 compared to 19.75 for Zalagianis, of course. But that's pretty impressive, only about a tenth of what Peter Vagapov is doing in the lead. So really impressive by Andrew Maharazzo. Look at this. Sophie Jones once again caught back up to Moynier, and she fancies another go, doesn't she, Cam?
Absolutely, and even Silvera a bit behind is slowly closing in. But yeah, Jones once again having some really nice speed in that car. And let's see how this one is going to work out. The gap last time came down by another 4 tenths, and Jones really now trying to make a move, but of course, it is not the easiest place. You've got to find your move. It's not going to come to you. You need to find it. You need to work for it and try and get yourself up into that 5th place. And it's certainly getting very close between the two.
Yeah, certainly. Musadis sort of keeping the gap to Vagapov at about 5 seconds. But this battle, as we see Jones having to back out there, really helping Howard break away from Moynier, essentially, because Jones would have been a real threat otherwise. So Moynier actually really helping out Howard and his championship bid here.
Yeah, the championship is obviously getting to that critical moment after this being only 2 races. It's not too much to swap around. So yeah, let's have a look how that one is going to work. And obviously only a 10 race calendars. Jones starting to really use that speed. A massive dive down the inside of Raskas. Huge contact between the two. That's not where you make an overtake. And now Moynier really massively defending towards the final corner as Silvera gets involved. But that was a bit dirty between the two.
Yeah, once again, very optimistic by Sophie Jones. Very late move into Raskas, and with not a lot of room to manoeuvre, the 2 locked wheels there, and I don't think Loic Moynier will be too impressed with Sophie Jones after this one.
Yeah, I would love to see a replay of just how far back that was, because that was what was sent as it's in the wall once again for Jones, and I think it might get to a point where she needs to let past Silvera almost. There's still a wing on the floor there.
Sophie was lucky not to lose a wheel in that one, in the inside at Casino Square there. But yeah, Silviera will probably be the valet conference room. There's going to be lit up all of a sudden constantly with, let me through, please.
Yeah, it's not the place where you want to be going into the walls for multiple reasons. But let's have a look how this one is going to be working itself out. Going to be getting a replay here, Sophie Jones, and this is going to be a huge dive ahead in towards Raskas.
Yeah, here we go. So Jones sort of gets on the curb. Moynier seems to pull away, breaks quite early. Jones, right up the inside as we saw. And that's 3 or 4 contacts. Nearly, in fact, that was a 5th. The front wing just clipped the rear tyre there. And Moynier getting really squirrely on the power. I was like, I want to get away from this as soon as possible. So, yeah, a little... I think I agree with you, Cam. Very optimistic by Sophie Jones. But after she got held up before, I guess she had to try something, didn't she?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need to try and make a move stick, but I think that was a little bit out of reach, unfortunately, for that move, because it was so far back. So Munia didn't really have any time or anything to figure out or try and leave space or anything to cooperate in that, and a bit of contact being made there, which is not really what we want to be seeing. We've seen some nice clean overtakes so far, but let's see how this one works out. As it continues, Silvera right behind as well, but this battle is certainly hotting up.
Here we go. Silvera's dropped to about a second behind, so keeping a watching brief, really, waiting for the fireworks to start, I guess, as Jones dusts herself down and gets ready for a third try on Loic Mounier. Let's see if the next attempt is a little more successful on her end, but certainly Loic Mounier will be fighting like crazy to hold on to fifth. It's not really gone his way this race, so a top 5, he'll be desperate to hold on to it, but can he hold on to those tyres as we see more debris at the side of the racetrack? Zalagianis has got by Andrea Marisser and gotten up to 9th now, so it looks like that's about where he's going to finish, because it's about 50 seconds to Wesley Bukout then. So yeah, it looks like if things stay as they are, it'll be Zalagianis 9th, Howard into 3rd, because Sonneveld is retired as I say that.
Oh, so the Valet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we had at one point is certainly slowly starting to lose. And as you say, Sonneveld had a bit of an issue, and Valet really starting to struggle in these last few laps.
Yeah.
I wonder how that happened.
Could have been that I saw he was getting DRS from a lapped car in front of him.
Oh, no.
But something must have happened either just after he got through or as he was getting through. But that's a big shame. We know Sonneveld may be nursing damage from that collision early on. So let's see what happened to House. Here we go through the final sector then, into Raskas. And the steering is at a 45-degree angle, it looks like.
I think that's just the lag maybe on the steering angle. Oh! Inside edge of the final corner and somehow avoiding the two drivers behind. But then
and he goes backwards in the wall.
Yeah, trying to be nice, but actually, in the end, lost his rear wing. Oh, no.
So here we go. He carries on with his damage without the rear wing, and predictable result has to cut to the inside. So
that's not how you take turn 1, guys.
Well, Sonneveld sort of up the inside, and you can see it. There we go. That's where he loses it then. And yeah, he floats into the wall. And surely that explains why he couldn't continue then, doing a little balancing act on the top of the barrier. Silveira has hit trouble and gone into the pits as we look at the damage go at Sonneveld. So looks like Valet starting just to lose a little bit. Still could be a 1-2 here. Mercedes 7 seconds out behind Vagapod, but Liam Howard, the main beneficiary here, as we see Bukout has got by Jones somehow.
Yeah, is this still on the replay? Maybe, but yeah, so we've now had Silveira go a lap down, so that is not ideal. I wonder why that is, because there's only 5 laps to go in the race. So surely it would still, even with dead tyres, surely it would be quicker still to stay out on those last 5 laps. So I wonder if something's happened there. But Valet still holding on to that 1-2.
That would explain why Sophie Jones has let both the Irish both Bukout through, because the rear wing's gone. So Valet have a real trouble holding on to those rear wings, don't they? So
Lord.
I guess the third attempt was even less successful for Sophie Jones, unfortunately.
Yeah, Valet really struggling here, and so wait,
because she's lost it much earlier.
Already, but that was by the pit entry.
Yeah, because we were looking at the Sonneveld replay, and it all happened while we were watching that. So here we go, right behind Mounier then. And just touches the wall. Coming into Raskas. Does she try it again?
Oh, no.
And spins Mounier around and then gets hit by a teammate.
And that's
so
how
that would be
Sonneveld
why.
went.
That'd be where Zara went on. Yeah.
Oh my lord, that is not the way that Valet would have wanted to continue this race, because of course they were in such a good position, but it hasn't worked out, and that is a big shame for them. But it's worked in the way of Team Iris. They once were looking in 2nd and 4th, so this isn't quite as good of a position with 4th and 5th. However, that would still be a nice result with a double top 5. Them two batting between themselves. They've got a big gap ahead, a big gap behind. They just need to bring it home for the final 4-5 laps.
And of course, in terms of the championship, it puts Howard onto the podium. But I think Zalagianis, after all the difficulties he's had, I think he would happily take a top 6 out of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly been a difficult race for him, but as you say, top 6 would be nice. But Liam Howard up there in 3rd place, though, so that is, it's not loads of points, but there's still a few points gained, and that could be very crucial.
Yeah, he'll be very thankful to have the 2 Irises in between him and Zalagianis, and from that perspective. But you have to say, out front, Vagapov has made all the right calls. Mercedes too, for that matter. Both of them having very, very clean races and a good recovery drive by Howard. But certainly lots of action we've enjoyed in this race, haven't we, Cam? Not always the cleanest, but...
Yeah, it's been a great race, to be honest. It's been, as you say, not necessarily the cleanest race with a couple of the moves, but overall we've seen some nice battles and we've seen some nice overtakes, some good strategy calls as well, which is what we want to see. I do see a car has crashed though just by the Sector 2 barrier. They're not moving.
Is that Jones again?
Cars.
Jones has gone back in the pits.
Potentially. Got loads of cars coming back through, but I believe it might have been another car involved in that. Not quite sure. But either way, there has been a few issues here and there during the course of the race, but it's been rather exciting in the battles we have seen. But I think it's Moralato here who has lost potentially the rear wing with how slowly they're going.
Yeah, exactly. So more trouble for Moralato, unfortunately. Let's see if we can get a look as Nando Massa pits as well in the number 91.
Get a replay to see Moralato very close to the back of one of the valet cars. Can't quite read.
Moralato's being lapped here by the valets.
Oh, that would explain it. Oh no!
He moved to the inside and then got hit in the back by Jones. So more bad luck for Jones, really. And very lucky not to collect the Royal Blue as well.
Yeah, that is not how... Slowing down on the racing line isn't the place.
I believe that was Andrea Marisoa who just avoided there. So looking like the Royal Blue driver is going to get a top 8. So good recovery after everything that's happened. Those hard tyres have somehow held on. And is that Zalagianis who's caught up to the back of Bootcamp, or is he a lap down here?
No, I think you're right. I think he's caught...
No, it's one of his teammates, sorry. Yeah. Got too excited there.
Yeah, same. I thought that was the case, but as you're right, that is one of the other, I think
that's Marsa who just pit, yes. So that's why he's going much quicker than the Irises.
Yeah, so that's not obviously the way that Masters race would have wanted to go. He would have wanted to battle these guys legitimately for 4th and 5th place, but unfortunately he's letting them through as we're on to lap 45, or at least the leader is on lap 45 already. Such is the lead. 8 seconds to Musaidis, but then another 30 seconds back to Howard and another 20 seconds again to Munier. I mean, the 2 valets at the front have just absolutely gone into the distance.
So Jared Batala pitting as well, so another front wing went missing just in between Raskas and Paul. What's the final? Anthony knows, of course. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Paul Frere, but that's Francorchamps.
Yeah, we were there a couple of races ago.
I know, yeah. But anyway, the 2 Irises continue to squabble then with a lap and a half left to go. But I don't really think Bootcamp is going to have an opportunity, because the state of that front left tyre and the front right too, they both look a little bit worse for wear. They were both pit on the same lap as well, didn't they, early in the race? So certainly we're going to see him slip and slide to 4th and 5th then. So a good recovery in the end, but a lot of attrition helped that happen, really.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much the gaps have spread. We're now lapped to P9, Silvera, and he's even close with Andrea Maharazoa to get lapped potentially before the end of the race. So Vagapov has really showed his speed with Musaidis, but it is a difficult lap. Difficult track, I should say, around here. It's difficult to be consistent. It's difficult to get the lap times, and for sure that is where the stars of the field start to show themselves, as Vagapov is already halfway around the penultimate lap, so just 1.5, about 5 kilometers left for Vagapov to win this race.
Absolutely, like I said, hasn't really put a foot wrong. Really strong strategy, and Musaidis was the only one who really pushed him. And again, he's his teammate, so there was only a look. But those 2 really the standouts in this race. And Vagapov, it's going to take 2 in a row, really, which is going to do his championship a world of good. Could potentially allow him to catch up to the back of Howard, actually, in the points. Although Howard, of course, finishing 3rd, limits the damage ever so slightly. But here we go. Vagapov goes across the line to start the final lap of the Azure Grand Prix.
Almost. He was, so he's 20 points behind Liam Howard. Howard's on 120, Vagapov on 100. 30 points for a win, 21 for 3rd place. So that's a 9-point swing. So it will be 11 points with 2 races to go and effectively they're fighting for second place in the championship as well, because they'll both jump Lianos, if I'm not mistaken, or at least close enough, and they will do by the end of the season. So that is a very important battle, as you say, and of course they are both gaining quite a lot on Zalagianis as well. Vakapov gaining 15 points with Howard gaining, I think it's about 9 points. So yeah, very close between these drivers, but just half a lap to go to get 2 wins in a row for Vakapov.
I believe just up ahead, that's Andrea Mariso being overtaken by Silveira for 8th position then. So good effort by Silveira just to keep going then.
Certainly indeed, and Andrea Maharazoa here is very close to getting lapped. Is he going to slow down, or does he want to do the final lap himself? He's getting the blue flags, but really only one corner left now. As Vakapov comes out of the final corner, he'll get past the back marker there to take his 2nd victory in a row. He did it in Monza, and he's done it here in Azure as well. Dominant fashion, got pole position, led pretty much start to finish with good strategy as well. With his teammate Muzaidis getting 2nd place, which is very good from where he started in the field. But we can't discount the likes of Liam Howard really jumping up the field throughout this race, but also pretty much almost a lap behind. You've got Buchhout and Munier really coming to the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly. After all the things they went through, I think Iris will... So they'll be a little disappointed, but I think they'll be happy to come 4th and 5th because after the hard work they put in, I think they've earned it. But here we go. They're going to finish in formation almost. So close together are they. But I think Buchhout will have to settle for 5th here.
Yeah, I think he just about will, but Munier has done a good race himself with these two not having the cleanest races, and that's really what's taken them out of the podium. So the 2 Team Irises get 4th and 5th place, and that is going to do their championship in the Constructor Championship aspirations very good.
Somebody lost another front wing at Sandipol.
Yeah, fortunately that's after the finishing line, as just behind them, Zalagianis gets 6th place. Your championship leader, and he will keep the championship lead with just 2 races to go this season as well. Harvig getting 7th place. We didn't really mention him throughout the race. He had a bit of a quiet race, but getting up into 7th place. Silveira in 8th, Andrea Harazoa in 9th, and Scott Flack rounding out the top 10. But certainly a very chaotic race.
Yeah, a lot to talk about, but from pole position, it was one single mistake I've seen Vakapov make all day, really, in messing around here in the pit lane. And finally, the front wing parts company, so even Peter getting in on the shenanigans there. But it's too late to stop him. Victory is his once more. And by 8 seconds, over Stavros Muzaidis' teammate. So it's a Valet 1-2. They go one better than Monza, where they got a 1-3. Liam Howard takes his first podium since Le Mans. So that's very welcome for him and his championship for Netrex. A little bit quiet, but Liam Howard putting in a very assured and confident drive today. Moynier and Buchhout 4th and 5th from Zalagianis in 6th, the championship leader, as you say, Cameron, holding on to that lead. And I believe he may actually extend it because of Lianos jumping ship to the Pro Series. Matthews Harvick 7th. Romulo Silveira overtakes Andrea Maharaso right near the end to snatch 8th position, but still, good result for the 74 to make those hard tyres work for him. And Scott Flack, from the very back of the grid, avoided the carnage and chaos to finish inside the top 10. So great work by the Super Venturi driver.
Yeah, as we come to this 2nd page, we already get to the lapped runners there, who obviously didn't have the best pace in the world, but we managed to get 18 drivers there to the finishes. You see them all the way go down. Sophie Jones was in a good position at one point, unfortunately having a bit of an issue. Sonneveld in 19th place as well, also having some issues, not the day that Valet would have wanted, but of course their teammate as well as Zaharov will be on the next page. So really just quite a few points lost there for the Valet drivers, who will be ruining their mistakes just a little bit. And also there, Vlietstra at the bottom, he had such a good qualifying position, but unfortunately was out of the race on the first lap already.
Yeah, certainly a big shame after the potentially showed at Monza too. But there are our provisional standings then. Howard, our new 2nd place man in the championship, but 40 points now, the gap between him and Zalagianis with just 2 races remaining. It's going to take some very, very strong performances from Howard to overcome or even get near Zalagianis getting into the final race. But mathematically, it's still alive, and he took a little bit of a step closer towards him today as Vakapov holds on to 4th and closes in on the 3rd position, which I think he's almost certain to get in the next couple of races if he can keep these performances up.
Exactly, it's getting very close indeed. And I mean, just look at the handful of points really between a couple of these drivers with still 2 races to go in this championship. We've got round 9 on the 7th of August and then round 10 on the 21st of August. And the round 9 track will be announced at the end of the WC race later today. So we still have Pro coming your way in just about 25 minutes time. And then we'll have WC a little bit after that here and of course on VCO as well. So yeah, we thank you all for watching. We thank our partners at VCO for the broadcasting and Mesiti Sports 3D Wrap and SimLab as well for providing prizes for our champions this season. And until the pro race in a few minutes, we thank you for watching and goodbye.